Go for it, go for it. I'm just saying I'm not finished yet. Search for it, swing for it. Discover the me that lives in yes. Stand for it, stretch for it. It's my time, imagine my best. Run for it, reach for it. Uncover the me that lives in yes. I know, yes I know. There'll be miracles wherever I go. It's not work, it's play. I can make magic today.
Hi everyone, welcome to Senior Nation. I'm your host, Phyllis Ayman, and you are listening to the Source TV Radio Network, WTSN, Washington, D.C. We are indeed a senior nation with 100 plus million adults over the age of 50, and we are here to bring you up-to-date information about successful aging, healthful longevity, and becoming what I call a well-ager, to dignity, respect, quality of life, and quality of care for our parents, our grandparents, and loved ones. We at Senior Nation will be your trusted voice for informed choices, meaningful conversations, and a vibrant life at every age. Though the Source TV Radio Network is known for its dedication to bringing the highest level of jazz content to the viewing and listening audience, the owners of the network are also dedicated to bringing this important content to this fast-growing demographic, and I'm always grateful for the opportunity. So now for tonight's guest, which is postponed from last week because of some unforeseen circumstances, but I'm thrilled that she's able to be here again tonight. So Jill Shepheard recently founded Order by Design, a professional organizing business, in her third act. Jill helps people downsize, organize, and let go as they move through their changing life stages. Jill is a competitive single rower, has launched 4 young adult children, and is a stepmother to 2. She has worked as a rowing coach, personal trainer, cooking teacher, food photographer, and blogger. And she also loves to hike and raise chickens and scuba dive, cook, and road trip. She's really fantastic. So I really want to bring in Jill because tonight's show is going to be a little different. And I want to have the opportunity for Jill to be here while I'm describing how this show is going to move forward tonight.
Hello, Phyllis.
Hi, Jill. So
it's good to see you under less messy circumstances.
Right. So I'm going to describe it a little bit. So, for the people watching or listening. So, Jill and I decided to take a different approach to tonight's show because I was actually in a life-altering situation in which a major move was really imminent. It just came upon me. The circumstances aren't that important right now. So I turned to Jill because of her business, Order by Design. And with a 4-hour window on a Sunday, and by the way, an injury, a status post, a fall, she really sprung into coaching mode. And so we decided in this episode that we're going to kind of try and demonstrate how Jill coached me through this incredible life-altering situation. And, we were talking before we started about how when you came, that I think you came on a Thursday night first, and we sat in my living room at the time, and you asked me some pretty serious questions about how I was feeling because I told you the circumstances, and I said, yeah, my life is over, and that's how I felt. And obviously it wasn't, because I'm here tonight.
And it made sense in the moment. Like, we could hold space for the fact that felt super real.
Absolutely. And, and I told this to you, and I've told this to many people as I'm with a friend for a few days here in Boston, and then I'll be going back to Connecticut before I go upstate for this new job that I took on. And I actually had wanted to move for years. I'm sure I'm not the only one in this circumstance. I had talked about it. I started giving things away, started talking to my daughter about taking some things, my son to look through the things that I was carrying, from place to place for God knows how many years. And I would just walk around saying, how am I going to get out of here? I mean, there's just so much. I can't even think about it. I don't know how I would do it. But yet I not only did I do it with your help, but within a very short period of time.
I'm just going to jump in here. When
Yes.
Phyllis and I talked about doing this, I said, I applaud you because the process that you went through, the process of downsizing, the process that I take people through, one of the things I think I love about my job and I hold as almost like a sacred vow, like not to get too heavy about it, is that this is incredibly intimate. I am in your space in a way that's very vulnerable. And I just want to say that I think it's incredibly brave for you to be willing to talk about what this experience was like for you, because it's actually, this is a really hard thing that you went through. It's a hard thing for everyone. And in the circumstances that you were in, where you had a limited timetable, I mean, I remember when you called and told me what was going on, I just remember in the moment being like, I was so busy too. Like,
Right.
super up to my earlobes in like this other project that had like a heavy deadline. And I was like, oh my God. Okay. What the hell do I have to offer? Let me think what's realistic. And then I said, okay, I can pull off 4 hours on Sunday. And there was a little voice in my head that went, no, you can't. You're already doing too much.
But you did. And not only did you brought your partner, you brought your stepdaughter and your daughter.
And that was the other part of me that did better than I usually do. I was like, hey guys, can you help me? And they're like, we'd love to. And I was like, okay, there we go. I asked for help. I was like a
Right,
grown up
because I
about
can
this.
tell that you're not the person that's not your
No.
normal way of doing things. I could do it all myself. I mean, I'm kind of that person. I've been that person,
Yeah.
if you asked me to pick up the house and carry it, I probably would have figured out a way to do that.
Yeah, but I was just like, okay, we're going to do this. And I came over that Thursday and we talked, and completely not a shock to me, you were in a fairly despairing place, which makes sense. And we walked through that, and I thought about everything you said, and I'd been through your house. And then I thought, so with every client I work with, I don't do like, I have principles and I have values I bring, but it's all about like, what is the right thing for the client in the
Right.
circumstance, right? And so I had this moment of, this is not how I want to work. This is not how I like to work. And I know this is what Phyllis needs, and that sucks because
But I have to tell you something. This might be a good thing that we're doing here, and it also because as we're talking, I'm actually feel like I want to cry.
oh, I think, yeah.
No, in a good, because it has been such an incredible journey. And we were originally going to do this last week, but there were some unforeseen circumstances and we couldn't do it. And you said, oh, too bad, because I had just kind of finished the process. But I think in a way it's better because I've had some time. Not really reflect, and I'm also with a very, very, very dear friend in very comfortable surroundings, which is probably another good thing. I didn't expect to be here in these surroundings, and it's beautiful and it's peaceful and calm. And, I know her since I'm 18. So, it's a very strong relationship. But as we're talking, I'm thinking about, where I was at that night. And like I told you, I still have my moments here or there, or a little earlier today, I had a, period of time. And I haven't cried. Actually, maybe at some point it would be a good thing. It's like loss. They say that when you go through stages of grief, and they're the three events that really are the most profound triggers, in terms of grief, are moving, divorce, and loss of a loved one. So
I want to say about that, like, I think that's a good and profound observation that you haven't had. Not everyone is a crier.
Right.
But I think most of us, when we give ourselves space, that's our body and our brains, like it's a release, right? And I think we don't let ourselves experience that release until we feel safe.
Right.
And until we're with someone where we feel safe, who can hold that. And that it's pretty wild that in every job I do, I spend time crying with my clients, or my clients crying with me, opening up those spaces. I had one client, it's funny, not funny, but like, I walked into their place and I sat down on the sofa, and I have like a way that we do sort of the preliminary conversation. Let's make sure your expectations are a fit. And my client burst into tears, like ugly cry. And I was like, oh, we're going to start there. Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, let's just get straight to that. Right. And sometimes it's, you pick something up and you slowly learn the story of someone's life through the grief that their objects hold, and through letting go of the objects or the life that was lived there.
Right.
And that is exactly why, Phyllis, I said just a few minutes ago, the way that I did this job with you is not the way I wanted to do the job. And I had to make a choice.
Right.
We had 4 hours. This is how I thought about it. I was like, first of all, I'm going to actually elaborate on my injury just to let people know like how ridiculous this whole situation was.
It was like unbelievable.
So I saw you Thursday, and Friday, I was in this really intense time crunch situation. I was working with my colleague, and one of the things we do when we're working alone together is we turn on like music, and we're constantly changing the playlist to keep it momentum going. So we had R&B music going really loud in the apartment, and it's the end of the day, and I'm hauling out heavy furniture. She's like, do you need help? I'm like, no, I've got it. And the furniture catches on something, and I lose my balance, and my hand truck is behind me, and I fall onto a concrete floor directly on my SI joint. And I'm thinking, did I break my pelvis? What the hell just happened? And I'm yelling for my colleague, like, and she can't hear me because she's grooving to the R&B. Right. So then I showed up at your place to deliver.
Barely able to walk.
Yeah. And I was like, this hurts now. It's going to hurt worse later. I'll figure it out. Right. So, I was processing what you needed, and it was actually great that you were texting me about where you were, like the emotions and the thoughts you were going through in the process, because it gave me insight. And I said, oh, this sucks. But I actually am going to have to be focused on getting as much done as quickly as possible. And I don't have the luxury of holding space for the thoughts and the memories and the grief.
The stories. I can't hear the story right now. And right.
It's awful.
But in a way, not just for this circumstance.
Yeah.
In a way, some of it might be a good thing, because what would be the point? What would be the point of, like, I remember you opened this one cabinet in my kitchen, and there was a little vase there and another little cup, let's call it a ceramic cup. And they were always in my mother's house. And so, and the little vase was given to my mother when I was born. Now, it had been in the back of that closet, and how many places I have traveled with that thing. I didn't even remember it was in there. And when you opened it, you said, I said, oh, that was but okay, but it's been in there for 11 years that I'm here. And the other, however many, I just turned 73. So however many years I'm carrying this around with me, I didn't even know it was in there. So Would it be
Here's
that
the answer.
necessary to keep that thing? But that was part of, I think, the process that I went through. Is it important to keep this thing? I mean, and I haven't thought about that thing. I only thought about this one place. And it's still killing me. Why didn't I just take that? There was just one plate that I kind of liked.
Wait, I want to actually talk about that plate because that's valuable, but I want to talk about the objects of sentimental attachment. And what did we lose by not being able to spend time with that? There is, I mean, I love this part of my job.
Right.
Where people take something out. Look, the only reason you held on to that is it was a connection to a loved one.
Right.
And it was something that represented a certain kind of connection to a loved one.
Hmm.
And in order, and there is a processing of the grief and the connection that happens. Like literally, if you can hand it to me and say, I've made peace with this. Like,
right, and I'm giving it over to
somebody
me.
You make some peace with whatever emotion that thing held. Like, then you've processed some form of grief and you've kind of healed something, which sounds super woo-woo, but it happens constantly.
Right.
And I see over the course of a project, when I can do it in a more appropriate time frame,
right,
people really healing a lot of like unresolved stuff they didn't know was resolved. But that we couldn't do that in this context.
Right. But I just want to say, for me, I don't know if that would have been so helpful, to be honest. I think everybody is different. Yes. And that might not have been so helpful. And I probably, because I don't know that process in the, your normal time frame, but it might have even been harder for me to do that if I just knowing me. But here's the interesting thing. Well, it's not that interesting, but
you would have been fine. You would have been fine. You would have let go of that. I know this.
No, yes,
you would have been fine.
But the interesting thing is, I was looking through some papers, things, whatever, and I actually found I think it was an announcement when I was born or something like that. And I said, oh, look at this. But there was something else I found that, to me, it's kind of funny that I found this thing, and it's really more valuable than that vase. So there was one picture that my mother always had in our living room of her family, when she was younger, and her sister and her brother and her parents. I'm named after her father. And there was only this one little picture that I knew of. And I gave it to my daughter a while ago, or I showed it to her, and then I thought I lost it. And then I thought she kept it and lost it. And then we found it, and then I gave it to her. I wanted her to have it. Well, I thought that was the only one. And going through some things, I found another one. And I put it in my wallet, and I carry it with me every day. And to me, in a way, that's more, I mean,
it's like you released something and something came back to you that was more important.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Well, and I have to say, let's talk about that plate that you were about to bring up. You described it, because this is like, so wait, actually, I want to back up. Right. I was in serious pain. Okay.
I know that.
And so, but I was like powering through it. I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's just take some, what the heck medication did I find? Some muscle relaxer that someone didn't use up. And I was like, all right, we're doing this. So, and we actually, the way it worked out was my partner was having shoulder surgery. He actually needs both shoulders repaired. So he was the driver. So at the end of that day, we took 4 large SUV loads to Goodwill at the end of 4 hours. And I think it was
a story about that. Right.
And I think it was 10 contractor bags.
Right.
But literally the decision I made was, Phyllis will be in better shape if I can like plow her through the decision-making process and let her see that she can get rid of shit, and let her turn around at the end of 4 hours and feel like, oh my God, we made a big dent. I can see where this is going. I can finish this myself, because I couldn't help you. So I was like, I just want to get as much done in as little time as possible. So now tell the plate story.
So
I remember the plate.
You were taking all of these serving, I mean, things I've had that I haven't used for years, right? I used to love to entertain, but I really haven't in many, many years. And you were saying, do you need this thing? Do you use this thing, this thing, this thing? I was like, no, no, no. There was one or two things I did take, but there was this one plate with these kind of these asymmetric silver handles. It was just like a rectangular plate, white. And
I thought it was round.
no, it was rounded. It was rectangular, but the edges were rounded. I know that plate. Trust me.
Okay, I believe you. Maybe we're thinking of a different one.
Put it in the basket, that you were going to take for a donation, and I picked up the plate, and I said,
pulled it out.
I did. I pulled it out, and I said, I like this plate. Can I keep this plate? I didn't ask you, but I was kind of saying it out loud.
No, I think you did. And I was like, you can keep anything you want. I'm not taking a damn thing from you.
And I said, and I put it back and I said, okay, forget it. But I am sorry. I didn't keep that plate, that one plate.
And actually, like, I want to talk about that because I think that's a really valuable thing to talk about. Like, one of the things, I call them decision traps. One of the major decision traps is that people have like this regret anxiety. That like, I have to make sure that I'm not going to regret getting rid of something. And so if you are so averse to the idea of getting rid of something that you wish you had, and I do try to coach people through, look, if it's irreplaceable, put it aside. If it feels really like, there's certain things. I didn't even do any of that with you. I have time to do that with you. But you are going to get rid of some things that you look back on and go, shit, I kind of wish I hadn't gotten rid of it. But that's just going to happen. And if you're afraid of that, you're not going to let go of anything. But
I think that was the only one. Now that may be representative of a larger.
It's probably just that.
But or it could be just that, and it really was just that play. But there were, the funny thing is when you were on the show before, and we were talking about how people don't want our stuff, and I remember where I was sitting, and I said, for instance, I'm looking at my curio, and I have this plate that was signed by
Sarah Ferguson.
Yeah, Fergie, right? Yeah. I remember when it was or whatever, and we agreed that like nobody would really want that thing, but in the end I kept that and the other one that I had, and I'm glad that I kept those two things. Isn't that funny?
I'm glad you did. And you know what, you had to make decisions really quickly, and look, there were moments where I was like, oh, I hate this. Like literally there were a couple moments where I just kind of looked in the cabinet and I was like, when you weren't looking at me, I was like, because I felt so mean. It's like you would see something and you would do what normal humans do.
Right.
And you would start to tell me a story about it that you needed to tell me. Like, I know, like you kind of did need to tell that story. You need a witness. And I just looked at you and I had to do it. I was like, I don't have time for the story.
You did say that. You don't have time for the story.
I love the stories.
But so I want to tell this part of it, which is pretty kind of miraculous. And I know, I talk about signs or miracles, and some people they're so averse to that thing. It doesn't mean diddly squat, Phyllis. It just happened, and that was a good thing that happened. So I had all this pile of clothes that I wanted to donate, and you had asked your stepdaughter to. We had taken a lot of things out of the closet, and you had asked your stepdaughter, and I said, this pile of clothes goes. And I remember she came in at one point and asked me about something else. And I said, no, they all go. But I had taken out some clothes that I was going to pack, right? That I was going to pack to wear, right? To take with me that weren't going in storage. So, and I remember her saying the things on the bed, but I thought I only had these other pants that I was going to try on and see if they still fit me. I didn't think they really did. So I was thinking it was only those pants, right? Now, maybe it was only those pants, but when the next day or later, like I woke up 4:00 in the morning, I said, where's all the clothes? Like I took out that I'm taking with me. Oh my God, they're gone. What? Oh my God. Oh my God. And you said, and I texted you very early in the morning, and you said, listen, if they went to Goodwill, I'll ask her, but if they went to Goodwill, they're gone. Well, that wasn't good enough for me.
Yeah,
And so
I was blown away by this.
right. So I know you were. So I think this is a great story, right? So I went there they opened at 8. I went at 20 to 8 in the morning, and they weren't open yet. But the guy, he remembered that somebody brought like truckloads of garbage bags.
Well, they all know me over
Right,
there.
right. But I've donated there many times. So, and I told him the story, and he said, okay, come in. They opened early, and I started going through these bins. Um, he said, and first one, I found some things, but I knew those were the last things that I had given her from the garage, when they were leaving. And so and then they came, I was lucky because it was, and that's what I said. It was Sunday. Maybe they didn't pick up because it was Sunday. And sure enough, they didn't pick up because it was Sunday. And then the truck came to start to load these big bins onto the truck. And he told this guy that came, that guy that came. Well, all these guys helped me. It was really quite incredible. I even said to them, you're just being so kind. He said, that's why it's called goodwill. And when
Oh my God, I have to tell you, those guys that work there, I'm just going to, can we give a shout out?
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
guys
they
at
were really
the Greenwich Goodwill drop-off
right.
location.
Fantastic.
They are such wonderful humans. I adore them.
I
so
agree.
great.
They were terrific. And
they're so helpful.
The guy who was the truck driver, they were delaying, they were doing everything they could, took other things. And then the last bin, I said, oh my God, here it is. And I found all my stuff. And it was pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. But
can we just say,
when I left, they hugged me.
They're so sweet, right? Can we just say that is not how I usually run my business, giving stuff away, or having my stepdaughter like load their stuff?
But this was very different because it was 4 hours, and your daughter had to leave to go to work at noon, so she had 3 hours. And your partner, he couldn't lift anything. He did try and carry
such
something
a ragtag
down
group.
The steps. It was unbelievable.
It was so ragtag, but you know what, girl, we got it done. And I just have to say to the listeners, I'm so delighted. I don't know that proud isn't the right word, because I don't feel like I get credit for it, but I do know that from what we did together, you were able to take that and really run with it. Right. And you were, and you did, it's sort of funny, in a lot of ways we kind of did virtually over text.
Right.
Some of the things that I do in person with my clients, where you were processing the spectrum of emotions, which ran from elation, oh my God, I'm getting rid of these things that I've been so stuck in holding on to. Right. And I feel so emancipated. And you go from elation to overwhelm, to exhaustion, to despair, right? At moments. And, and so I was sort of over text, good. Yep. That makes sense. Right. We ran through all of that, but you did the work, and you showed up and you figured out how to get it done. And what you did is not easy, and emotionally, physically. And it's weird to say this. I'm not sure that I have the right language. Based on our conversations, I think you kind of felt stuck there, because you were so overwhelmed that you kind of knew you needed to downsize and get rid of stuff. But like a normal human being, it was so easy to kick that down the road, right? Not today, not this year. Right. There's higher priorities. And this is true in so many circumstances. It isn't until you have a health crisis, a financial situation, a loved one has a health crisis, suddenly life kicks you in the tuchus, and now you have to get out and you have to get it done quickly. And there's too much to do, and the overwhelm comes down on you like there's an earthquake happening around you. Right. And it kind of forces your hand. And in your case, it was a magnitude 7.0 earthquake. Right. And it sucks, and you got through it.
Well, I have to, and I was also recovering from hip surgery.
I wasn't going to mention that if you didn't.
I just had gotten my clearance like 2 days before, or was it before that? Or after that, but I had already been carrying things. I wasn't supposed to. I was already carrying things. But I remember at one point I texted you and said, because I realized we had packed up all this kitchen stuff. My daughter came one night and, she helped me pack up a lot of, the dishes that were left, and, some things like that. And I remember at one point thinking, oh my God, I didn't pack the pots anyplace. And I said, who cares about the darn pots? I could get, no, in the end, I did put
No, wait, do you know where you can get more pots? At Goodwill.
It might even be some of my pots. I don't know.
There is so much good stuff at Goodwill.
But yeah, there were things that I just said, but I did pack the pots ultimately, but but it just goes to show that I got to the point where I said, I mean, what good is having these pots sitting in a box? I don't know how long they'll be there. What's the point? It's just another box taking up space. I could always get other pots. But like I said, in the end, I did it. But the funny thing was, there were pots that I had that did belong to my mother. Do you remember? And we just got rid of those. So I didn't keep those pots, but I kept the other stupid pots.
Do you know, it's just like you make a decision and you live with it, right?
Yeah, no.
So tell me, so I'm going to interview you for a second.
Right. Yeah, I want
you have you've let go of a lot of things and you're living without your things right now, right? You're in between situations, right? You've had just a bit of time to reflect on this. What do you miss having right now? What have you thought about other than the plate?
No, I have to be honest with you. I really can't think of anything. Having my place, and not that place.
A place that is yours. Yeah.
A place that is mine. The funny thing is, I had been saying, I'm going to have my own condo, because I realized I really didn't come to this until the last, I think, after I moved, but I think it was a process, because I had wanted to leave there for a few years, that it was very isolated. It was at the bottom of a hill. It's a 2-family house. I mean, I'm kind of friendly with my neighbors, but it's not like a community. I feel like at this stage, I want to kind of be in a community. And the person who owned the house wasn't so great. And there were issues. And whenever it snowed, it was just a hassle with getting plows and over that hill. So it's ironic to me that now we had this huge deluge of snow, and I would have been up the creek without a paddle. It would have been impossible. So it's funny to me that, this is when it happened, right? So looking back on that, I'm like, thank goodness I don't have to deal with that. But other than that, and the funny thing is, so I keep talking about this condo, and sure enough, I'm in my friend's very beautiful, peaceful condo. So it's kind of funny that I had been saying that, but actually nothing. Really, I mean, I have some of the things that I brought with me, so I don't, and my, like I said, I've known her since I'm 18, and I visited her many, many, many times up here. So I don't feel like this is a strange environment. And as it turns out, without going into it, I've told this to a couple of people. It turns out that it's pretty incredible that I'm having a chance to spend time with her, because she has a serious health issue, and we don't know where it's going to go. And I wouldn't have had this time to spend with her if all this hadn't happened. So it's just kind of
a gift.
Yeah, I think I called that. And she, by the way, has hugged me, and we've had those moments, and
you've been comforting each other. You're there for each other in this moment.
So it's so if you ask me what I really miss, besides just having my place, I can't really say anything. Now, I do have people who took things from me, all my art. I had a lot of art. My friend is an artist. I have a lot of her art. She took it um, to keep it for me. There were some people who took some things to keep for me.
Mhm.
So it's not like everything is just gone. I know it's someplace. I don't know when I'll see them again, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Phyllis, do you think, is there, like, as you reflect on, and it's still early, like you have time, but as you reflect on the process you went through in terms of um, getting rid of things that you've probably needed to get rid of for a long time, or downsizing, or, however you want to characterize it, what insight do you think you have about choices you made, about what you lived with and how
Oh,
you lived?
Jesus.
Like, just give listeners, because this is always one of the,
Right.
it's like ending up in a life and death situation in the hospital where like your life flashes before you. You like all of a sudden you understand what matters. Like, so what would your insights be that, gosh, if I'd have known this before, if I'd have been through this before, I would know this thing. And what would you pass on to people?
Um, that stuff isn't important, really. It doesn't define you. And I think we live in a very consumer society, um, and we have this tendency, we're constantly bombarded, and we think we need all these things. So talk about like a feng shui or simplicity or minimalistic, um, surroundings. I think the more that it's better to have more space than trying to fill the space, that you need the air in the space. That's more important than the stuff in the space,
Hmm.
because the air should be um, you have more opportunity to breathe and reflect and have peace than when things are cluttered and you have just a lot of stuff around.
Hmm. Yeah. That, it's one of the things I talk to clients about sometimes, especially clients who have really big houses. There's a sense that like, well, I have to fill the space. And
Right.
I'm like, actually, empty space has an impact on you. You don't want to live in a warehouse, right? You don't want it to echo, but really having empty space that's uncluttered. I am not a minimalist. I hate that word, actually. Um, but not feeling like you're living with things on top of you and everything filled and filling every space
Right.
is a luxury in and of itself. It's about creating luxury for yourself.
Right. And when people design, they actually design to keep space. Some
Mhm.
designers, they
Yeah.
design to keep space, not to fill the space. It's how things relate to each other in the space. And the emptiness it's not empty, but
It's not empty. It's like space.
oh,
It exists, right? It's an
right, right,
existential space,
right,
right? Like
right,
it's
right,
space to breathe, right? It's like
right, to
being in
breathe
like
and
wilderness, creating wilderness in
right.
your own home.
And there's a calm in that. I remember listening to some audio a few months ago. I told you this, and they were talking about clearing out the clutter, because it really helps you in more ways than you even know. It clears out your mind. And so the next day, I took this garbage bag, and I had all of these. As women, we go and we get all these free samples, and you buy a perfume, you get a lotion, and whatever it is. And I had many of these on top of this medicine cabinet in my bathroom. Now, I hadn't used any of them for God knows how many years. In addition to that, I probably wouldn't use them because they're full of fragrances and chemicals. And I
Okay,
tried.
wait, can I stop you there?
But
But did you see them when you opened up that cabinet?
yeah, no, they were on top of the cabinet. And
Right,
so
but
I took,
right, they were on top of it, but you saw them. They were
right,
there.
I saw them. They were
And
always
then
there.
if you ever thought, because I want people to understand
Right,
this, I'm going to use you as the guinea pig,
right,
because this is decision traps, right?
right.
And when you saw them, did you ever think maybe I don't need those?
No, until I heard that video and I said, oh my God, why do I have these here? So I took
Yeah.
them and I put them in a garbage bag, but I didn't remove them. I don't know why I didn't remove them from the bathroom. But when it got close to, I think it was about even a week or two before this, I said, why do I still have this here? Why didn't I just throw them out? And so I threw them out. So wait, let's see what Carla said. Have you ever heard George Carlin's brilliant routine about our stuff? Yes, absolutely. It's brilliant. Absolutely. It's about stuff. He was brilliant. He was really fantastic. So
you know what? I have to tell you, today I was going through a bathroom with my client, literally the last half hour that I was working today. And there was all these single male guy in his 50s. And there were all these facial products like skin serums and all this stuff. And I looked at him, I go, do you put shit on your face? And he goes, never. And I was like, so do we need any of this? He goes, well, I might use it. I said, stop for a second. You have like 6 of these. Why might you use it? And he looked at me and he goes, I don't know. I said, you don't want to use this shit. He said, no, I don't. I said, let's throw it out. Like, but it's like those things, like, you know what it is? It's, well, I should maybe make my life better if I put this crap on my face.
Right. When I got them, I intended to use it.
But that was like 7 years ago. Get rid of it.
Right. And then I can't tell you how much crap I threw out of my freezer. And then actually I had left some stuff in the refrigerator that I wanted to take with me. And I actually left it there. And I'm actually upset about that. There was this one jelly you can't get anymore. And this dressing, whatever. I was going to bring it to my friend's house. But okay, whatever. But the interesting thing is, even when we looked through the food pantry, I mean, you found that there were things in there that were expired 2 years ago.
Okay, let's talk. Let me just give you like a pro tip here.
Right.
Here's expiration dates. I am not debating with my clients ever about expiration dates on their canned goods or whatever. Like, oh, but it's still edible. Yes. But if the expiration date was 2017, which is probably 2 years after you bought it, let's talk about how the expiration date is holding you accountable for how much you don't want to eat this shit. Like, do you think you're going to suddenly get excited about it 10 years after you bought it? Like, what? That's what the expiration date tells you is, I do not want to eat this.
Right. Well, but here, I think, no, the expiration dates, now they tell you they're just a recommendation of when it should be sold.
You don't want to use this. That's what the expiration date is telling you.
And I'm one, I certainly consume things way after the expiration date, but some of them I have to say I don't think Kind bars, I don't think anything happens to them if they're 2 years old.
But you didn't eat them for 5 years. I mean, you don't want the Kind bars.
Right.
Like, in 5 years, you were not excited enough to eat them in 5 years. Now the next 6 months, you're going to get stoked about these Kind bars? No, you're not.
Right.
Like, you don't want them. Your expiration date is telling me that.
Right, exactly. So, so there were, but if you ask me, is there anything really? No, because my stuff is in, a lot of my stuff is in storage. So I know the things that I cared about are there. I think now when I take them out, whenever that is, hopefully it will be sooner than later. I hope I may have a time when I say, oh, shoot, I don't have this, or I gave away that, or I might not. Oh, who knows?
But do you know what? Here's where I go with my clients. A lot of my clients really love to shop.
Right.
And what I say is, when you get rid of something and you realize you could have used it, you get to buy a new version of that. You have like a legitimate reason to be buying crap at Home Goods.
Right.
Like, let's get rid of more than you think you need.
Right.
Because first of all, actually, another pro tip, furniture doesn't move well.
Right.
Like, what a sofa, an etagere, a dresser that works in one space doesn't usually work, which is another reason why, like, I recommend, even if you have the money to spend on stuff, if you're not sure you're going to be there for a long time, buy the cheap stuff, like, because it doesn't move well. Each space needs something a little different. But, often sometimes I've had clients who are moving or downsizing. Oh, couldn't live with, but I love this pillow. I love this rug. Okay. All right. Okay, cool. Like, I will never take anything from a client. Like, they want to hold it. We'll have a conversation if you're okay. And then they get in the new place. They're like, well, none of this works here. And I don't want to live like this. It feels like I'm trying to replicate my old home. Right. That doesn't work.
Right.
You had a 5,000 square foot home and now you have a 2,500 square foot home and the spaces are different. And so, you know what? We pay to move it and it usually goes. So that's what usually happens.
Interestingly enough, there's a chair. I think I moved with it. I don't know. I remember when the guy from the moving company was doing the walkthrough with me, and he asked me, do you want to take that chair? I said, I don't know if I need it, whatever. In the end, I think I took it, and I'm like, I don't even need that chair. Like, why did I even bother with that chair? And the funny thing, not funny, but, a couple of years ago, I was so thinking about getting rid of things that even a few years ago, some of the furniture in my dining room, I called people to see if they would take them, but they wouldn't. People don't use that anymore. But look like how necessity, if you say necessity is the mother of invention. I had never thought of this before, but I needed to get rid of some of these big pieces of furniture and didn't have the opportunity to call somebody to do junk removal, whatever it was. They were large pieces. And I said, let me call Habitat for Humanity. And they came and took not only a bunch of stuff. Remember that desk in my den? And you said you don't really need it. And I was going hemming and hawing. And in the end, I said, Jill's right. I don't need that thing. And I wound up getting rid of everything in that den, the bookcase, but the printer
I'm glad. And you can easily find something else somewhere else. One of my recommendations too is like, you might be tempted to buy inexpensive new furniture in a new place, but you can actually find consigned furniture that's like really high quality for the same price as new, but it's like fundamentally better quality. And for people who pick up furniture tend to be very, very picky for consignment.
Right.
And they're very choosy. So whatever is available is usually not, it's usually in very good condition.
Right.
So
yeah. So I just want to read this. Bob says, if I'm grocery shopping and the expiration date is more than 30 days on something I'm considering buying, it's telling me I don't need to buy it. If I'm thinking, I can wait 30 days to eat this.
I guess that's true.
But here's the thing. There shouldn't be food with expiration date, that's past the.
No, that would be like chicken.
Right.
But yeah. At the end of the day, like, I think it's very human to have a hard time with these things.
I think so too.
I think it is. I think look, I know it is, right? Like I spend a lot of time with people who struggle with this. And actually I did a consult with a client that I haven't been with lately, but we were talking about what remains, what he needs help with on his project. And I said, look, he described what he was struggling with. And I started laughing. I said, do you know what? Another one of my clients called it the aversion and avoidance category.
Yeah.
And I said, and can I just tell you something? I have my own aversion and avoidance category. And I'm a professional organizer. And there are things about my life where I'm like, people would die if they knew how much I struggled with this thing. But I think it's a lot like, when I was learning to row, I remember my coach would be hammering on me about like a very specific part of the way that I row the boat. I'm not going to go bore people with rowing terms. And I would work really, really hard on it. And then all of a sudden he'd be like, yes, that's what I want. Keep doing that. I'm like, okay. And I'd get off the water and I'd be all excited and be so stoked. Like, there we go. I finally got it. I get back on the water and he's like, okay, now we can finally start working on your wrist attitude.
Right.
And I was like, what? Like, there's always something else. Yes. Like, there is always something. And it's very human to struggle with this. And everyone struggles with it in different ways. And some people can live with their struggles with it. And other people can really use some help because it's emancipating.
It is.
It's like, sure. Yeah, right? It's like a weight that you live with. I sort of joke like, you know what? I'm way better than a personal trainer and way better use of money because I'll help you shed like 1,000 pounds and you'll feel like you shed 1,000 pounds. Right. And we can do it in a week.
Right. Yeah. How many So you took how many carloads of bags, and then there were 14 bags left in the garage.
Yeah, we had I have a full size SUV that I can pack up really tight. I mean, I'm very good at packing that thing
Right.
tight.
Right. I saw that.
So, yeah, so we took 4 loads, which is a lot. It's a lot.
And there were 14 more bags
14 bags of refuse, right?
in the garage, right?
Yeah.
Plus, I kept taking stuff to Goodwill.
Yeah.
I just kept taking more stuff. And, you know, when you say about replacing things, so many, many years ago, I can't even tell you how many it is now, maybe 20. You know, I had some clothes and stuff stolen. And I remember then when I moved there, I think it was because I had 2 houses, and I was married, and then I had a relationship. We had a house, and then, that ended. I moved someplace else. I remember when I moved from there, my daughter saying, like, how many shoes do you need? Now, you said that about my boots, right? And I really didn't I think I got rid of 1 or 2 pair, but, when I went through that, I said, well, I don't need to replace these. How many shoes do I need? And I went ahead and I feel like I did it anyway. And so, when I look at it, I say, and I got rid of a lot and I still have a lot. And I say, so when you say, about regrets, I think, there are things we don't really need anymore. And we are a consumer society, and we somehow are, fall prey to that kind of,
and what?
I am a fashion person. I'm a fashion stylist. I love fashion. So
I'm going to tell you something, Phyllis. I promise you, we can do a follow-up. When you move into a new space where you feel settled and you take those things out of storage and you start going through them, you will see them with fresh eyes.
Absolutely.
And you will literally be like, oh my God, I don't want all this cluttering. I don't want this in my space. The client I was with today, we did a hard call, like a double call. Like the first thing you do is you sort of curate the easiest stuff.
Right, of course.
And then you kind of go back as you build.
Layers.
Okay.
Right,
and so this was like, and it always happens this way. Like what I went through today was the stuff he could not live with. I absolutely need that. We'd already been over these things twice. And I said, okay, do we want to re-examine this? He goes, I don't want all this crap in my bathroom. Right. And I was like, there we go.
Right.
There we go.
Right.
And I have all kinds of tools and tricks. Like one of the things I did, because I actually moved him into his apartment while he was out of the country, which is why I was crazed when you called me. Because I had kind of a hard deadline. He needed to be able to sleep and function when he got back. So when we were, going through things, I was with my colleague and my teammates, and I was like, this is still too much stuff. And I said, here's what I want to do. We will make the choice about what he needs, but we're not going to get rid of it. We're going to put it in boxes that we call excess. And we're going to tape those boxes shut. And he had instructions. If you miss anything, I haven't donated them. They're in the excess boxes. And, but try living for a week with what we've got. And it's been 2 weeks. And the only thing he missed was an eye mask. Wow. So today I went and found the eye mask, pulled it out, and took 6 large moving boxes of excess crap after we'd already curated the crap out of his place. And they're in my car. I'm waiting to take them to Goodwill tomorrow morning and see my guys.
So yeah, as we're talking, I'm kind of emotionally going through the process a little bit as we're talking. And in a way it's cathartic because I think, like you said, how do I feel now? I feel like, gee, I really did get rid of stuff that I didn't need. I probably have books so here's an interesting, funny thing. Well, your words, your voice I heard your voice in my head. So I had all these books all over, and some I did get rid of. Probably some I still could have gotten rid of, yet that I didn't read. I'm not going to read some of those books. So you sign on to this, they send you a free book, whatever it is. But there are lots of books. I love books and I love to read, although I'm a very slow reader. So sometimes it's hard for me to read. So, I did get rid of some books but a lot of them are in storage. There are boxes and boxes and boxes of books. So when we went down to the garage, there was a little room off to the garage. And I took a lot of things. I did get rid of, I told you, some things from my mother and things that had been in there for years and some other things. And then there were like all these boxes. And I kept a couple things, like something that's sentimental, like my piano music when I used to play the piano. I mean, and I've been moving with that for God knows how many years, right? And some albums, we never went through the albums. I said, I don't know what's in there, so I wanted to keep them. But there are boxes of books. And when I showed them to the mover, he said, listen, like, we already have so many boxes, right? And so my neighbor, the movers had left a piece, and he was able to take it from me and whatever. And I was showing him these boxes. Maybe he can move some, but there's no room for them. I should have gotten a little bit bigger unit, but maybe it's better that I didn't. Who knows? But anyway, he said to me, how long have these boxes of books been here? Well, obviously, I didn't even realize I was there 11 years. I thought I was there 7 or 8. So he said, well, obviously you didn't look at these boxes. So
Bingo.
Why don't you just take them and donate them? Now, I don't know what books are in there. I think there was 1 or 2 that I might have wanted, but I had
God, good for you for not opening it.
But I had no time to, at one day I said, I'll go through these. I said, I have no time to do that. So I will just leave them there. And if, whatever happens to them, I didn't do anything. I did go to the recycling place, but the book donation, I went so early, they weren't open. So I said, listen, I mean, there are some books in there that I probably would have wanted to keep, but I don't even know. Listen, I don't even know what was in those boxes. So
your life is not worse because you got rid of them.
Correct. Absolutely. And it wouldn't have been better if I put them in storage.
Right. 100%. 100%.
So, I mean, Jill, this has been so fantastic. And
it's been, you know what? I'm so glad that what happened. And I'm so glad that I'm so glad you called. I was so glad that I was able to be a part of it in the limited way that I could. And I'm just really happy for you because I think it is an emancipation. And one thing I see all the time in my life, in the lives of my family and my loved ones, and always in the lives of my clients, is there's a weird thing. It's this ineffable thing. I can't explain how it works or what it is, but it's this thing where whether by choice or by force, you let go of something that you've been holding on to that no longer serves you.
Right.
There is this weird thing that happens that suddenly gifts from the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, drop in front of you that are beyond things you could have imagined for yourself. And I don't understand the mechanism of that, but I'm excited for you because I know that that's, has already started realizing. And I'm looking forward to seeing the ways in which that continues to happen.
Right. There were no words of gratitude, and, you answered my call, you came in pain, you brought your family. I mean, it was really an extraordinary experience. And as you have said, there are moments, some will last longer than others. Yeah, I might think about something here or there, like that plate. That's really the only thing I thought about. Isn't that funny?
The plate.
Yeah. There are things that are going on to someplace else, and maybe somebody else will appreciate them, and that will be a nice thing that I've passed on. So, your work is invaluable, and your spirit is a true gift.
Thank you. I feel like I have the best job in the world, and I thank you for trusting me with that, for trusting me with that intimate moment.
And look how all of this happened, a chance meeting outside of
Whole Foods
talking about hair. I mean, you just don't know.
So true. Yeah. So,
Anyway, so thanks again, and I'm glad that you were able to join me again, and we could talk about the process that I actually went through, because I think that's even more valuable for people to hear and see, is that somebody actually worked with you, and whether it was a short period of time or a longer period of time, that what that experience has been. So I'm glad for that. Oh, and we have another comment here from Mel, our network owner. I went through a major change. I had to move, and I rented two 20 by 40. Now, he has told me this 20 by 40 storage spaces, packed ceiling to floor. After relocating and taking essential things, I never thought about missing anything in my storage. After 12 months and a cost of $10,000 for storage rent, I let it go. Now, 6 years later, there are few days that I ever think about those things, and I have freed myself from a lifetime of excessive accumulation.
That is a really good way to end this.
Absolutely. That's perfect.
That's
and I
right.
think that's what goes back to what I was saying, even about the shoes. It's excessive accumulation. And I think once you can free yourself from that, you've done a very healthy thing for yourself.
Amen.
So thanks, Jill. And now I'm going to talk about next week's show.
Okie dokie.
Okay. Talk soon. So my guest next week is Dr. Nash, who is a professor in the Leonard Davis School of Gerontology at the University of Southern California. His research is focused on the intersectional discrimination and stigma, as well as the health inequity predominantly for older minority and at-risk communities living with HIV. Paul is commissioner and co-chair of the Aging Caucus for the Los Angeles County Commission on HIV, as well as being actively involved with the many local advocacy and patient-centered organizations. So remember to tune in, comment, and ask questions on Wednesday, February 4th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on the Source TV Radio Network. And until then, take care, stay well, and stay tuned.
Go for it. I'm just saying I'm not finished yet. Search for it, swing for it. Discover the me that lives in yes. Stand for it, stretch for it. It's my time, imagine my best. Run for it, reach for it. Uncover the me that lives in yes. I know, yes I know. There'll be miracles wherever I go. It's not work, it's play. I can make magic today.